Brian, we do appreciate your being here this morning.
No,
Thank you. Oh, that's right.
well, it's great to be back. I think I'm correct in saying this, but I've spoken to the Madison at least once a year, every year that I've been Secretary of State. So I appreciate the invite again. I'll take the slim crowd is that things have gotten so good in the Secretary of State's office, I don't draw good.
Just keep on believing that.
Quite, yeah. If you believe it, it'll happen, right? Obviously, Garland Favorito is either sick or out of the country.
Well,
He's not here today.
He had two important things.
Oh, good.
He called me and apologized. He said, Michael, I really want to be there.
Well, I just wanted to mention, because I know he'll watch the broadcast.
Yes, he will. And he wanted me to apologize to for his not being here.
Also, just wanted to recognize Grant Thomas, a constitutionalist conservative that's here with me. Grant works in the office, does a lot of things for us. He looks like a lawyer, but he's not one. So y'all can that's that. But Grant travels with me some. He also does constituent affairs in the office and was part of our legislative team this session. Grant actually worked on my campaign, and then when he got out, graduated from the University of Georgia, came to work for us, did a great job, and so he gets to get out and see a lot of groups as well. So I hope y'all got to meet with Grant. If there's something you ever need with the office that can't get me, Grant, be glad to help you. I want to just give you a quick agency update, and then I'll kind of wrap up with elections. As y'all know, it is an election year. You realize that. Been kind of wild and woolly in elections, but we also got a lot of really good things going on in the agency. In our corporations division, as you all know, I've talked to you about some of our frustrations there before with our filing system that we had, some of the problems we had with our old system. It was actually good, but it was just kind of old and worn out. And then our stopgap system, which was not very good, and it didn't work very well. It's just something that we had to weather through. But in July, almost we're getting close to about the July 4th weekend is when we moved from our previous system to our new corporate filing system, eCorp, and it y'all has worked great. We had the best annual registration period that we've had since I've been in office. We did about 80,000 more annual registrations this year than we've done in years past. And there's a reason I can tell you that I realize that. Number one, our call center volume was down because our system was working well, so people weren't having to call the office saying, you know, I can't remember my password, what's my username, you know, I thought I paid, but it didn't go through, you know, all these problems that we've had in the past. Well, it's so simple to use now. Literally, if you have your control number, or if you can find your entity through our search, if you don't want to make any changes, we now have a one-click annual registration where you just push one button, put your control number in, hit submit, takes you to the credit card page where you pay, and that's it. We had, I knew it was going to work well in January, early on when we had a lady post on Facebook. It took me longer to go get my pocketbook and get my credit card out than it did to do the filing. And I was like, that's what we've been after. But you know, because we did 80,000 more filings, because our call center volume was down, because our email traffic was down, that lets me know the system was working well. Because we've had, in years past, if you ever tried to use the system the last couple of weeks of the filing leading up to the deadline.
Just go down there.
Yeah, well, it's crazy in the office, but it's also crazy online because we had so many users on the system that would bog it down, it would slow down. And so what do people do when that happens, when they get a little spinning dial? They open another box on their browser, which creates more users on the system, which slows it down, or they call. So we didn't have near as much of that this year, so we were very excited about that. We're rolling out new things as well. We're doing this new system in 2 or 3 different phases. We're going to have the one-click available on the mobile app. So for people that are, don't have a traditional office, or kind of a small business owner like myself, at a construction company, I may go to the office 2 or 3 times a week at the on job site, where we'll now have the ability to text you a reminder. And if you got your control number and you do the search on your phone, you could actually just pay right through your mobile device without having to, go onto the internet and do that. So we've got some things like that. We're automating other things like foreign filings, which foreign filing for us is anybody that's outside the state of Georgia. So if you have a South Carolina business that's doing business in the state of Georgia, you would have to do a full foreign filing with us. We're trying to get streamline those as well. So a lot of good stuff in the corporations division. In our licensing division down in Macon, as y'all know, we've got about 150 employees at our Macon office, and it's a big operation. And we have really worked hard. As you all know, I've talked about how we consolidated down there, streamlined, using technology to make us more efficient. All the good things that this group, and one of the reasons I ran for the legislature and for Secretary of State was to really continue to keep government small and make it more efficient. We're doing that with technology. We're also doing it through reorganizations that we've done. And we're really starting to make some headway down there. We're processing new applications and doing renewals as fast as we ever have in my tenure as Secretary of State. So we're very excited about that. We're now focused on upgrading our system down there to continue to be able to do more and allow our users and customers to do more online. One of the things that not many people know, but when I became Secretary of State, we were using 3 different filing systems down there in our licensing divisions. We had one, and then they moved, I think it was Secretary Cox moved to some other new system, but never got rid of the old one. And then they went to another system and never got rid of the other two. So we're finally in the process now of really focusing on trying to get those consolidated to where we have one system. You can imagine, how difficult it is from an IT perspective, trying to keep 3 systems up and running when they weren't all built by the same people. And it's just kind of a nightmare scenario. But we're making a lot of headway and making a lot of good things going on. Really working hard too in our securities and our charities division, which a lot of people don't really know about. We have kind of built that program back up from really some pretty devastating budget cuts that we got during the downturn. And we took that opportunity to really just remake that whole division. We had a lot of bureaucracy there when I got there. We cleaned a lot of that up, got some new leadership over there. So we feel like there's a lot of really good things going on over there. And then, talking about elections, Michael and I were discussing some of the things that have been going on. As y'all know, the SEC primary idea of having a regional primary for our presidential race this year, not only having Georgia going early on March 1st where we could be influential in the process, but I worked very hard getting other states to buy into that idea and join us. And I worked real closely with Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas, Mississippi as well. Mississippi, as you know, went the week after us, but they passed a bill in the legislature in the House unanimously, passed a bill in the Senate unanimously to move their date to March the 1st. Everybody was on board there except one person, and that person was the lieutenant governor. And he basically would not let the bill come out of the conference committee. And it died. No, this was in Mississippi.
Oh, Mississippi, okay.
So the bill died, and so they ended up going on March the 8th. But if it wasn't for that, we would have had Mississippi join us as well. And it turned out great. Alabama had record turnout, Arkansas had record turnout. We had record number of votes here. Our percentage wasn't as high as it was in 08, but we actually had more people that voted, and that just depends on how many people are on the rolls when you're when you're doing the percentage. But I don't know what you guys think, but from my perspective, I think Georgians really like being in the mix.
Yes.
There's been a lot of years where it's kind of an afterthought, or you may be down to 2 candidates, but you basically know who's going to win the nomination. So it's really like, what's the point, you know? And I think, you know, the last year and a half for me were very exciting. Seeing not only our state, but these other states that were participating specifically, like, you know, Tennessee, Alabama, and Arkansas, where, you know, they might not normally get a lot of presidential play, and us as well, having candidates come here, do bus tours, you know, do public meet and greets, go to barbecue restaurants and do, you know, eat lunch and do a town hall where you had, 100 people there. Don Kasich did a town hall up in Kennesaw right before the thing. You know, Kasich may not have been the choice of a lot of Georgians, but for anybody that's never been to a presidential event, to be able to go up there and be in the room with a guy that's running for president, see that process work, I mean, that's exciting. You know, Trump had a thing in Macon, Georgia, right across the street from our office down there, had like 6,000 people, and had another 1,000 that they couldn't let in. Same thing happened in Valdosta. You know, you had Ted Cruz going on a bus tour across the state. You know, we had what, eight or nine candidates that came to the Red State event last August in Atlanta, and many of them did public events. I remember that was when Carly Fiorina was kind of riding a high spot, and she had a big event there. Went to an event that Cruz had, Scott Walker had. I mean, it was great for us to be in the mix, and
Yes.
I'm going to continue working on that. You know, as soon as the election's over in November, and we know which party controls the White House, that'll dictate a lot of how the presidential race is going to go and how the primary will go 4 years from now. Once that's kind of known, you know, I want to continue to work in whatever fashion it is to keep Georgia at the forefront of us being a player in presidential politics. And I think you're going to see that. I also think you're going to start seeing small regional primaries going. I think people, one of the things that I've kind of thrown out there, and I don't know how much play this would get, but it'd be great if it would be to, you know, do Iowa, New Hampshire, get rid of Nevada. You know, that was a Harry Reid gift to the unions. The only reason they have that primary in Nevada. It's like 30 delegates. Nobody really pays attention to it. It's just almost a waste of time and resources. So my thinking was do Iowa, New Hampshire, have a 2-week gap, and have a big regional primary in the South that includes South Carolina, and maybe includes some other states like, you know, maybe North Carolina, Kentucky, potentially get Mississippi to join and do kind of a regional primary. That's going to be a better snapshot of the real America out there, I think, regardless of which primary it is, Republican or Democrat. Now, I know there's been some RNC people talking about potentially getting rid of Nevada and doing, you know, maybe a 2-state regional primary, like South Carolina and Georgia. That would be kind of neat too. But I'm committed to trying to keep the SEC primary coalition together. I think everybody was very excited about how well that worked. There's definitely strength in numbers from having all those states going. It basically forces the candidates and the campaigns to come to our state. And look, that's important for us. You know, we've always, I can't remember if I told you all this the last time I spoke, but you know, we always talk, you know, everybody, I know everybody in this room has heard of ethanol subsidies, right? I would imagine most of y'all are opposed to that, but even if you aren't, it doesn't matter. You've at least heard about ethanol subsidies. And the reason you've heard about them is because the presidential race starts in Iowa, and that's where all the ethanol plants are, and that's where all the corn is from, or a lot of the corn is from. So, you know, they basically pin the candidates down. And my point during the whole SEC primary is, look, all these chickens that we're growing in Georgia that are eating all that corn that they're growing in Iowa are just as important as the ethanol plants, if not more so. So the presidential candidates, you know, we need them to come to Georgia. We need them to learn about our issues in ag and poultry. But we also need them to learn about our other issues and assets that we've got. When you think about the airport, the seaports, you know, our military bases, you know, the other great things that we're doing in Georgia, balancing the budget and things that they should be doing at the federal level. You know, the early states are always getting pinned down for presidential candidates. You know, my thought is that we should be able to do that in Georgia as well. The last thing I wanted, well, so we have the SEC primary, and then the May primaries. I know there's a lot going on in Cobb, and I know there's a runoff here as well, so I know y'all are very well aware of the July 26th runoff. But generally speaking, we had a great primary day on May 24th. It was very smooth across the state. Always have a few issues with different issues, being that something the county did wrong from a redistricting standpoint, or some mishap that happened at a polling location that somebody was doing something they weren't supposed to. But for the most part, had a very smooth night. You know, our reporting on our website went well, and we did have a few counties that were very late reporting. There were some pretty good reasons for that. Some of our counties were having to run what we call dual databases because we had special elections going on that were very late in the process, so you couldn't get them on the regular ballots. It was almost like they were having to hold two separate elections at one time. So it takes them longer to count when they do that, or to get the results in. So, but other than that, things went very smooth. And really, from us leading into the November election, while we'll have, you know, probably a brighter focus from the press talking about the presidential race and people paying attention more so, when you really think about it from our perspective or the county's perspective, we have a whole lot less races going on. Because as y'all know, a lot of the races are over with now. You know, our judicial races were nonpartisan. There's no runoffs. There are some local runoffs and Superior Court judge races and things of that nature, but a lot of the judicial races got decided in the primary. A lot of the legislative seats got decided in the primary because there is no general election opposition. And also races that wasn't, that the nominees were decided in the primary, there's no runoff, but they may have a general election. A lot of those are in seats, quite honestly, that unless somebody does something really stupid, they're not going to lose. They're either a real Republican seat or a real Democratic seat, so you don't have quite the focus going on. So in some ways, while the attention and the glare will be more with the presidential race going into November, actually the amount of things that we're having to keep up with have actually been decreased quite a bit. The last thing I wanted to mention before I take your questions, and I know y'all will appreciate this, but this is a brief that our office and Sam Olin's office worked on, because we're getting sued by a bunch of liberal groups about the way we remove voters that have not participated in 7 years. 7 years. So there's a process in the National Voter Registration Act which requires or allows you to, if somebody is not participating in 2 general elections, for you to send them a notice, and then if they don't respond, you remove them from active to inactive. And then if they don't participate in 2 more general elections, then you end up taking them off the voter list. I think the record will still show up if they're not officially on the list. And when you move from active to inactive, if you come in and vote, you'll be allowed to vote, and you'll be moved back from inactive to active. So it's a 7-year process. And the reason you do this is to keep your voter rolls clean and up to date, which I've talked to you all many times about, having secure, accessible, and fair elections in Georgia is what I've always worked on. I've always worked on making it easy to vote and hard to cheat. But the first part of a good, secure election is making sure that your voter rolls are clean and up to date. And, you know, there's people that move out of the state every day that don't give notice to the county, they don't tell us, you know, they'll go register in another state. And if you're not doing some things like we're doing with other states, like our cross-check program, which I know I have talked to you all about before, you know, you could actually have people registering in multiple states. So if people aren't participating, that is a good reason to serve them notice. And if they don't respond and then still don't participate, it's a good reason to move them from active to inactive to actually off the rolls. And listen, there's costs associated with keeping people on the rolls after that. And you're talking about mailing costs, postage costs, you know, all these other issues. But it's very interesting. I won't bore y'all with reading this brief, but we're getting sued by these liberal groups. And the Justice Department is actually weighing in on their behalf. After previously pre-clearing the process that we use in Georgia to go through, which, as you all know, we had to do prior to the Supreme Court overriding and ruling Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional. That is the formula-based part where you only had certain states subject to that and others that weren't. So we have a Justice Department that's now working against a previous ruling and approval process that they had done. And there's, you know, past instances of them ordering other jurisdictions to remove the voters. And now they're saying they don't like what we're doing. And I think y'all know the big differences. Past Justice Departments and one that we have now. So I just wanted to fill you in on that. I know that we're going to probably continue to get more lawsuits from the left as we move into the election to try to disrupt things. And they're trying to find any way that they can to keep people on the roll who shouldn't be there, to, you know, to create that doubt out there. But I can tell you all, I will keep fighting to defend the laws of this state, which is what I took an oath to do. I don't take that lightly. We're a model, I think, for the rest of the country on having secure elections, with having, you know, photo ID requirements and things of that nature that I've talked to this group before. That is a very common sense way to make sure that we know who somebody is when they're coming to participate in our process. And I think it's a little ironic that the President and the Justice Department and everybody else complains about that, yet we can't even. I mean, my wife went to the airport. We had to go to Tampa a couple of weeks ago. Her driver's license was within 3 months of expiring. And they would not let her go through the TSA lane. What? It wasn't expired now. It was within 3 months of expiring.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, are you kidding me? She had to, this will make you feel good, she had to pull out her Sam's card, which had her picture on it, to verify, you know, another picture ID. And then she had to go through the whole, you know, personalized, pat down, whatever thing. And I'm like going, really, y'all are going to give us a hard time by showing a photo ID to go vote? So anyway, I just don't tell them that story. But with that, I'll take questions if you got it.
Brian, thank you very much. And I'd like to kick it off with a question. And this came up at the convention. I saw David Chase. We've all heard that the state of Georgia is receiving what I understand to be at least $100 million, or perhaps in excess, I'm unsure of the amount, to resettle Syrian refugees. And I asked Senator David Schaefer, who is a Madison Forum member as well, if there was any truth to this. And he said, yes, there is. And I said, why are we doing this? And he said, well, if we don't do this, then there will be private concerns that will take that money, resettle the Syrian refugees, and we won't be assured that we're getting the correct addresses where these people will be living. Now, I didn't want to debate that during our hall meeting, but that leaves lots of questions. One, isn't this, don't we have an opportunity to say, well, you can't go against the feds in doing this, but can't we require anybody resettling Syrian refugees to be licensed under the Secretary of State with exact training in making sure that the people are, that we have their addresses, whether it's a private concern or whether it's the state doing this. And then, so it's a law, if you would champion such a law, that gives the Secretary of State the authority to license and investigate in helping keep the citizens of this state secure, because probably, I think there's a great chance that some of these people may engage in some behavior, in some atrocity, and then it's going to be traced back to those politicians who supported this and didn't do anything about it, that where something reasonable could have been done. But a license and training requirement by the Secretary of the State, I think, is entirely appropriate, especially since you license musicians.
Well, we do. I was just fixing to say, yes, we do license a lot of people, about 500,000 folks. Obviously, under our current jurisdiction, we have nothing to do with any kind of refugees coming in. So that would take, number one, a legislative act. And also, number two, would take an appropriation and a lot of resources to be able to do that. So, that would be something the legislature would need to weigh in on. And quite honestly, I don't know if we would be the best agency to do that or not. I think that would be something that the governor would probably want to weigh in on as well.
Well, could I ask if you would discuss it with the governor and champion such legislation?
Well, I won't commit to champion. I'll ask around about it, see what's going on.
Thank you. We're going to start on this side of the room, go down and around. So, over here. Yes, Sheila.
I kind of have two questions. First, when somebody dies, how are you notified? That part I've never understood.
Yeah, so we get a report. That's a good question. And we get a report from the Vital Statistics Office with, a list of death notices every so often, so we can update the voter rolls. But one of the things that we did when I first got in office, I can't remember what year this was, but there was a big problem out there because during the slowdown, everybody was losing resources. So those reports were coming slower and slower. So we passed a bill through the legislature that allows the county elections office to go ahead and remove deceased voters when they have certain knowledge of them dying. So basically what was happening was that Cobb County, if somebody passed away, and the elections people knew about it, like there was an obituary in the paper, or somebody had direct knowledge because they knew them or what have you. And there's a process that the county can go through to go ahead and start the removal process without having to wait on the vital statistics. So that's something that
So they're removed fairly soon?
allows us to move them and update them a lot quicker.
Some
So
of
they-
these states, they're on there
Before
forever.
you tell you to remove it.
One person at a time.
Yeah, I don't know how the exact process works. There is one that and it's all laid out and what they have to do. They have to notice, and they have to send a letter to the deceased person. I know that sounds crazy, but,
Gotcha.
if somebody gets that letter and calls and says, hey, I'm not deceased. But, normally, most likely you're gonna mail that letter and somebody that's handling the state, a family member's gonna get it. They're gonna call and say, yes, she is deceased.
But they do get,
And they can go in and clean the rolls up through that,
Okay.
however that process.
that's mostly what I was concerned is how fast are we moving?
We're a lot faster than it used to be.
Yeah. The other thing was, on the primary, I think the last time you came to speak with us, we were discussing military and getting out there to make sure their votes would have come in. How did all that play out?
Yeah, it's playing out great, and I can't remember if I told you all the last time I was here, but we hired a guy named Ryan Anglin to be our military liaison. And, we have 4 county liaisons, so we have the state broken up into 4 regions. So the elections officials have one go-to person in our office to contact. Well, we now have a 5th liaison, and that is Ryan Anglin. He's specifically doing military work. This guy's, he's the dang war hero, really. He's been in Iraq, Afghanistan, he's been wounded, he's done, I think, 3 tours of combat. Just graduated from the University of Georgia, just a great guy. So he understands firsthand how difficult it is voting from a foreign country. And his job is to raise awareness about military personnel and their families being able to register to vote, number one. And then number two, what their options are for voting. As y'all know, I've talked to you about our electronic ballot delivery, which we implemented right when I first got in office. It allows us now to email a ballot to the soldier, and just print it out and mail it back. So we're really cutting the time in half for military and overseas voting. Our GA Votes app, where you can log on to your My Voter page through your iPhone or mobile device, it actually has a way now where the military and overseas voters, they can track their absentee ballot. So if they request electronic ballot delivery, they'll get notice of when it's available, so they'll know to go, check their email or whatever. When they mail it back, there'll be a notice posted on their My Voter page that the county received their ballot. And then when that ballot gets counted, on election day, there'll be a notice saying, hey, your ballot got counted. Or if for some reason it's rejected. Some of them may get rejected. They didn't come in by the deadline, or the person, whatever the problem, they didn't sign something right or whatever. They'll have that notice too, so they can find out why. So that gives them a real peace of mind now when they're actually mailing that ballot, wondering, did anybody ever really get my ballot? But Ryan, I'm sorry, I was going to tell you, but Ryan, he's been to almost all of our military bases. He's going to VA hospitals. He's going to different, veterans events, just raising awareness in the military. I think it's going to be a great thing for our state.
May I remind everybody, when you open with a topic, you got to stay on that topic if there's a follow-up address, otherwise it eats up
She
the
slapped
time
that in.
I did.
from the other members, so I
Experienced Madison Forum member.
That's right. Better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. Okay, but if everybody would stick to the same
Sorry.
topic, that doesn't mean you can't have a dialogue to follow it. Continuing around. Yes, Bill?
Brian, I got a question.
All right.
Georgia's been ranked last in voting system reliability and recount capability. Georgia's also been ranked last in ability for candidates to get on the ballot because of excessive restrictions. Are you going to complete your term as Secretary of State without ever advocating solutions for these two election issues?
Well, I've actually advocated for one of those. The voting. I've been thinking about this voting system question today when you were saying,
I'm going to tell y'all
I'll tell y'all to refer to my last time I was here. Look at the webcast and you can hear my answer again. So I'll take time to explain that. But no, just from the voting machine standpoint, the machine's still working well. We're getting, we do audits after every election with the counties, find out, if any equipment's breaking, holding up. And this is not to, I know there's a lot of people in this room that don't like the system that we got, but it was I'll remind you, as you know, it was one I inherited. But the system's still working well. I don't see us changing in the next few years anyway. That's something that you're really going to need to have legislative buy-in, you need to have governor buying into, and you have to have the money to do it. And then as far as the ballot access, I would remind you that I had a bipartisan, well really it was more of a I guess it was bipartisan, because we had Republicans, Democrats, Independents, we had a Libertarian on there, county and city elections officials, and some elected officials. And we actually had a compromise agreement that was in a report that was unanimous now to lower the signature requirement for getting on ballot in Georgia. And I felt like that was a good first step. And as y'all know, another couple of Madison Forum members angered a member of the General Assembly, and they said, well, if this isn't good enough for you, or if it's not enough, we'll just take it out of the bill. So nothing passed. I'm still opening to revisiting that if there's any legislative folks that want to do that.
Well, the voting machines have outlived their usefulness according to when they were, I mean, they're over 10 years old, for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and, you know, it was 10 years ago, 2006, that Karen Handel said that she was going to fix the voting machines, and then she took a campaign contribution bribe, $25,000 to forget about it. And, you know, they've been a problem all along. You know, the governor keeps raising, I mean, you know, had an increased budget. I mean, if he's going to increase the budget each year, then put the money in there to do this.
Well, yes, talk to the governor about that. I mean, we took a budget cut last year, you know, the year when all this money was spent. We actually got a cut in the Secretary of State's office.
Yes, Jim.
I'm going to stay in bounds here, so I'll make a comment, not a question on the first part. But I like the SEC primary. I'm not sure it's worth $30 to $50 million to hold it, and you can explain that. But here's my other question. When I like to look at candidates, I like to go look into their financial disclosures and see who's in their pocket or who owns them. You used to be able to go to your website and get all the information. You could download it and you could manipulate it, put it into Excel. For some reason, you guys have punted all that back to the counties, I think. You have to go to the county election website.
No, you have to go to the Ethics Commission's website.
Well, it used to be.
Oh, county, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so,
Financial
and
disclosure.
look, when you say you guys, that would not be me. I don't make
No, but
laws.
it used to be on the secretary. It still sits there. The information sits on the secretary tape. You can export it, you can manipulate it, you can put it in a spreadsheet. Now, if I want to look at it, use Tim Lee's financial disclosure. It's all handwritten. It's garbage. It's not usable
You
data.
need to talk to your legislators about that. 'Cause that
Why? But why? Why did
Because they passed a law to change the electronic filing and move it back to the county level. We had nothing to do.
Sure. You know why? Because it becomes unusable and you can't see the information.
Well, I'll tell you why I think they did it. It's because they were getting so many complaints at the time. I used to get these complaints because ethics, you know, all those filings used to be in the Secretary of State's office.
And they were wonderful.
And then they were moved to ethics. And then ethics had all those problems. And you
And they
had
took the ethics out of the name.
transparency, whatever. But seriously, what happened was, and I used to get this complaint like when I would go speak to ACCG, the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, or GMA, the Municipal Association. Everybody's like, I'm trying to do my filing, but I can't get my PIN number to do my filing. I've tried to call the office, nobody answered the phone. I mean, it was ridiculous how bad it was up there, simply trying to get a PIN number to do an online filing. I had a sheriff from South Georgia call me one day begging for help. I said, man, I can't help you. I have nothing to do with that anymore. I said, I can't get through to them. I know you can't. He said, well, I'm going to just drive my filing up there. So he drove the filing up to Atlanta, gave it to them in person, not to miss the deadline. And they fined him anyway because he didn't file it online. And I'm like, oh, you know.
Wow.
But that was several years ago. I think they have made a lot of headway.
No,
But
it's not very good. Yeah, I'd expect the buggy whip factory to put back into operation any day now.
But part of that, when they changed that, because of all those complaints, they moved the paper filing for local officials back to the county. You know, the state, like my filings, they're all online. I personally think that's the wrong way to go too. I mean, I think they should have given it a few years to try to fix the system, and because it is, you know, there was all these complaints about people, well, you know, we don't have a computer, we don't have internet access in rural Georgia, whatever. And I mean, you know, anybody that ever files online, it is so much easier to do it on paper. Plus, you got it all in one place.
Right.
So I mean, I'm a believer that's where it should be. That was not our decision. That was a legislative change that took place.
Yes, Governor.
Brian, I hate to rain on your SEC parade, but I'm with this gentleman. I'm not in favor of it at all. I think it favors the special interest because the turnout for the local election was abysmal. And I believe it's because we had two different primaries. Not only does contribute to the some lower turnout for the local elections, it costs more as well. And as an example, in Cherokee County, it favored the special interest.
What election favored the special interest?
Well, as an example, the local school system in Cherokee County is pro-left. They elected Brandon Beach because they were the ones who turned out. It's like a special election up there. They had a rally, yeah, on school property, on school time, for one of the sheriff's candidates. Just one, because his wife was a teacher. A couple of years ago, the superintendent of schools of Cherokee County was fined, an ethics fine, for using the school system email system.
Well, I can't control what kind of, potential corruption may be going on in your county. But let me just.
potential about it.
Yeah, well, let me just give you another side of that. So first of all, it's set, we've always had 3 primaries in presidential years. President's primary, the regular primary, and the November election. So that's something that's been in statute for a long time. And I think there is there's definitely an argument that could be made that, yeah, let's move our, primary presidential race back to May. Well, if we do that, we're not going to participate in the presidential race. I mean, it'll be over with. We're going to be an afterthought. Nobody's going to pay attention to us. So what does that get us? The presidential primary is a special election day. So for vacancies and other things, that can be used. I don't know about your $30 to $50 million cost. I haven't ever really run those numbers. And I would definitely disagree with you about turnout for the regular primary. I mean, look, there are a lot of people that came out and voted for Donald Trump for president.
Yeah.
And they ain't voting in no primary. I mean, it doesn't matter if the primary is in July or May or whatever. And I would imagine a lot of those people, if the primaries had been on that presidential ballot, they probably wouldn't even known who to vote for. And they would have probably left a lot of those races blank. So I don't know that you could really blame low turnout on the primary. I mean, look, in Clark County where I live, we had 10% turnout in the primary. A very good reason for it. We had one Republican primary for a state senator who had like part of Clark County, and it wasn't even the guy that was running against him did absolutely nothing. Most people didn't even know he had an opponent. And on the Democratic side, you had a Democratic primary for tax commission, which nobody cared about. So we had 10% turnout. But you look, our statewide turnout was a little over 20%. If you go back and look historically, other than the splosh, the statewide T-splosh, we normally have between 19 and 22%. And we had 20 point something this election. So very common with other races, tradition, just looking back, tradition. But when you look, there were some counties where you did have a lot going on that had like 30% turnout. I mean, what was the turnout in Cobb?
I don't know.
So, I mean, I think
Like 15.
It was 18 in Cherokee.
18.
This
Well,
was,
that's not far
I
off.
think it was 13, I'm not sure on that. It was low, right, very low.
So anyway, if you think about that, if the statewide turnout was 20+%, but you had dismal turnout, in places y'all are talking about, well, that means that somewhere else they had to have higher turnout to get those numbers to even out. So I would disagree with you. Yes, sir.
Fair enough.
It's a good discussion.
When they first started using the electronic cards to vote with, I know they were made by the communist Chinese because it said on the cards made in China. Do they still make them? Do the communists still make our election cards? Where have you actually been to the factory where they build machines? I remember the cards had made in China on them. The cards.
Yeah, I don't know.
This was way back when they first started because I was working the elections. I remember that. They took them away.
Yeah, I don't know. I checked on that.
Have you actually been to the factory where they build machines?
The voting machine?
Yes.
Excuse me, quiet, we need quiet, please. We're recording this, and it's disruptive of the question.
I haven't been out there where they make it.
That's a good question, Johnny. Because we have seen demonstrations from, I believe it was MIT on Fox and Friends several years ago, where there was distortion on the voting cards. They voted 5 times for George Washington and 0 for Benedict Arnold. And Benedict Arnold won 3-2. And the code on the cards, I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
It's aired a couple of times. And it was, it was Princeton University. It was Princeton University, the math department, and then the computer science department verified it. And that the code on the cards would infect the machine. And then you get a clean card in, so somebody could bring the card in that infected machines, and then the infected machines could transfer that to another card, a clean card. And so it could propagate throughout. Now, Princeton University Math Department, that's world-class math department, not Kennesaw. Anything wrong with Kennesaw, but when it comes to the two, one has authority and credibility, and the other one does not if they're debating that point. And so that still remains a problem, but I did not know the cards were made in China.
Originally, I don't think they are now because they took it off the cards.
I wonder why. Johnny, thank you.
I would just encourage you that, anytime these studies or videos or anything else come out, just make sure you know what kind of system that they're testing versus the kind of system that we have.
Kudos for the registration
I'm sorry.
process. Kudos for the registration process.
I'll say that.
Both professionally licenses and business licenses, Brian, y'all have done a fantastic job getting this thing straightened out. My question is this, Consumer Reports, the latest issue, has an article in there about technology and the voting process. I have not read it yet, but my question is there, we're doing the ballots overseas, electronic and what have you. Is there a move afoot within your office or within the legislature, I'm not sure how this would happen, to go to electronic balloting with the idea that maybe it would increase participation? I have personal doubts about that myself, but if your comments, please.
I'm waiting on a Madison Forum unanimous resolution to move to internet voting.
We'll take that up. We have
Too much fraud.
an advisory committee meeting after this. We'll take that up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, all kidding aside, there's no movement in my office on any kind of future voting system. But I will speak to that, because I think it's going to be an interesting debate that we have, and I know one that you all will pay attention to. There's a lot of, as you can imagine, new technology coming out in voting equipment. I've got to see some of it. I don't know that any of it's actually in place and working yet. But when you look across the country, it's very interesting to see, you got some states moving away, going to all mail-in ballots, going back to all paper. It scares me to death.
Me too.
Now, I know there's a lot of people in this room that don't like our electronic machines and want to have a paper receipt and everything else, but I can tell you that voting by mail to me is just can be rampant with fraud for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we had a relative of somebody that works in the office that lives, I think it was in Oregon or Washington, one, and they were doing all mail ballots. And this person asked that person, so how'd the voting by mail work? She was like, oh, it worked great. I said, really? She said, yes. She said, they mailed 3 ballots to my house. What'd you do with them? She said, well, I voted all 3 of them. I was like, well, you're not supposed to do that. And they're like, well, they sent them to me. So I think that is a problem. I think you also have a scenario, if you ever talk to, what happened in Allen West's race down there in Florida.
Oh, he got screwed.
And I'm no expert on what happened there, but I've talked to enough people to know that, the thing that they were concerned about in that outcome was that the absentee ballots, which are paper, that people were just, it's not that they were changing the count, it's just they were just tearing those votes up. So, you know, you could manipulate an election, not just by changing how somebody voted, but actually just removing the vote altogether. If you got a high, you know, if you're in a high Republican precinct, that normally 70% of those people are gonna vote Republican, well, if you take out 10 ballots, there's a good chance that 7 of them would have been Republican, so it lowers the number of Republican votes. So I think there's issues with that. Now, I do think down the road, you're gonna see the technology to vote over the internet. We're certainly not there now. I would not advocate for that. But I think as the millennials, as they age, they're gonna want that.
And that would have to be the last question for us, depending on time that you can, if Secretary Kemp does have time to stay and answer. But I'd like, since you mentioned Alan West, he was here prior to that election. And I did ask him the question, are you concerned about the voting processes in Florida? And he didn't know as much about it as I did. And he said to me, he said, I'm confident, I'm absolutely sure that the voting processes in Florida were just fine. Okay, you gotta know what you're talking about. And Alan West is a great guy. So, but anyway, Secretary Kemp, you have, it's 2 minutes after. So with that, we always take pride in starting on time, ending on time. But since Ted has videotaped this, I'm going to make an exception if you've got a quick question.
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead.
It's really regarding write-in candidates.
Right, okay.
Do you, it's a three-part question. Do write-in candidates have to pay a qualifying fee? Number 2, do you maintain a list of write-in candidates? And number 3, do the write-in candidates appear at the local polling places on some sort of list?
A quick
Grant,
three-part question.
you got those?
Yeah,
I do believe they pay a qualifying fee, but I'm not positive.
they do.
And then, I know we have a list of all the write-in candidates, because they have to, you know, you can't just write, I mean, you can write somebody in, but it's not going to count unless you are on the list. So we definitely have a list. And I don't believe they're posted at the polling location, which that's what makes it so hard. I can double check all 3 of those if you'll just give Grant your email address and we'll verify all that. I don't want to tell you something that's not right.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thank you.